All right, well, we're probably good to get started. I'll let Greg take it away. Greg, he's all ready.
You can hear me. How's my voice?
I can hear you fine. Yep.
You hear me
okay.
fine. Oh, okay. You're good to go. Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Gregory Ferris. I am currently running Media Arts and Production at the University of Technology in the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences. So welcome. Currently, I'm a senior lecturer and I teach a lot into the course that you're interested in, and I'm sure you've got lots of questions, so we're going to get to those fairly quickly. I would like to acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, the traditional custodians of the land UTS currently sits on, a site where teaching, learning, and the telling of stories extend back tens of thousands of years before UTS, before our previous incarnation as the Institute of Technology, and before that as the Mechanics School of the Arts in the 19th century. Little bit of business. We are recording this session, so this is for people that can't make the session tonight. If there are any issues and you are not wanting to have or contribution included in any distributed format, please let us know and we'll cut you out of it. Okay, so assuming you're here for the right course, Media Practice and Industry, it's been going for about three and a half years now, quite successfully. There are 9 subjects that are included as part of the MA. And each of those subjects is 8 credit points, making a total of 72 credit points. There are a bunch of blocks that you can do. So there are innovation blocks, industry blocks, and production blocks. And I can talk about specific subjects directly as part of the Q&A. I teach into 3 of those production blocks, including advanced post-production and a subject called immersive media, which I've just finished for the semester. And I also teach into the capstone subject, which is called Collab project. If you're full-time, you'll complete the course in 1.5 years. So that's 3 subjects a semester. And you can do it part-time. So it's usually you ripple it into either 1 subject for 1 semester, 2 subjects for the next, and that'll take sort of about 2.5 years usually. So it's pretty straightforward. There is a flow to the subjects as well, where you have more introductory subjects in the first semester or 2. There's also a grad cert, which is 3 subjects, so 24 credit points. And a full-time load for that would be 1 year, and you do 2 subjects in 1 semester and 1 subject in the next. Part-time students can undertake 1 or 2 subjects a semester, so that can take up to 2 years as well. Basically, we offer a postgrad that's all about choice, and you can create your own pathway. I like to use the metaphor of a sort of map, media arts and production being a guide for you, and depending on your particular interests, you can work your way or map your way through the course over the period of the 18 months if you're full-time. We are very hands-on with a lot of those production subjects as well, so you can focus on particular skill sets that are of interest to you. We also are very nimble. It's a very nimble postgrad, which means we do reflect and adapt according to industry trends. So we try and stay up to date with technologies and issues around production. And this can include things like the rise of virtual production and those sorts of technologies and how they would affect you as media practitioners. Delivery is quite flexible, so it's a mix of classes that can work around your work schedule. So we do try and do a number of the subjects in block mode, where you might have 4 days, solid days spread over the course of a semester. Some of these subjects are weekly subjects, but we do try and cater for subjects like StoryCorps, which may be on a weekend, or we try and work it in such a way that you it doesn't affect your work, and you can negotiate and work around work and study in a flexible way. There's some application deadlines coming up if you are interested. So that would be late January. I know you can probably read the slide yourself. If you're a domestic student, if anyone's an international student, or I'm not sure if anyone's dialing in from overseas at the moment, that would be early January. We are obviously taking applications now. And as current head of media arts, I have been looking at a lot of applications that are coming through. So I would say don't leave it till the last minute and get in early with applications if you can. Domestic students apply for the usual online application system. Nate might throw that in the chat window. And I'm not sure if we're sharing these slides as a PDF, but the links will be there in the chat window. Otherwise, if you are an international student who's interested, and we do have a lot of internationals coming through from all around the world, you can go to the international office page for that information. Generally, we do like our applicants to have an undergraduate degree of some description. It can be evidence of professional qualifications, and some of my best students have come through who are coming in directly from the industry. That has to be fairly substantial in order to come in to our postgrad. Generally, we have taken students that have come in with associate diplomas and relevant industry or knowledge or industry experience. But generally, we have a lot of coming in from a BA or a master's from other areas. Depending on those masters, there may be some opportunities for RPL, recognition of prior learning, as well, depending on if there's an equivalent subject that you've already studied. We don't necessarily need that your undergraduate degree is in the same area. If it is, or a parallel or complementary area, that may potentially help you, but it's not a requirement. And some of my favorite postgraduate students have come from other areas of study or other disciplines, including accounting. One of my favorite students came who had done an accounting degree and ended up being an amazing filmmaker. Otherwise, if you don't meet those requirements, you do need to put a CV in and a personal statement. But generally, most of our students are coming from an undergrad or industry experience. There are some English language requirements, and you can see those on screen. So the ETSL is 6.5 overall, writing score of 6. We don't have a lot of writing in our postgrad, but there is stuff that supports the media practice that you make as part of those assessments that are in the subjects. So you will be expected to do some writing, but certainly compared to some of the other postgrad subjects on offer at UTS and in our faculty, it isn't as much. We're more very much focused on the production and that sort of thing. So here's the bad news, here's the fees, based on a per subject basis, per subject, per session, and per if you're an international student. There is a 10% discount for UTS alumni, and there is a link down there at the bottom. Again, Nate, you might like to put that link in case anyone is coming from an undergraduate degree. We do have a lot of people coming from our own media arts and production undergraduate degree into the MPI. So there is a certain advantage to those students coming through. And of course, these fees are indicative. They may actually change, but these are basically in the part if you are interested. That went remarkably quick. I'm going to throw it over to questions. Careers are there's a question about careers that's just popped in. And generally we are a MA that's designed for industry practitioners to come in and get skilled up, but we're also in a position where we're flexible enough to allow for students with no production background to skill up in particular areas. For the subjects that I teach, my background is in post-production and areas such as virtual reality. So I tend to sort of work on the edge of technologies as they're emerging in the industry. So the subjects that I teach and coordinate generally focus on media technologies that are emerging, and technologies that may be of use for you as industry practitioners and where you may want to go. But in terms of general careers, it's kind of open to you and how you want to navigate your way through the MA, whether you want to focus on producing, for instance, curating. So we have a curatorial subject that deals with things like running film festivals, media related galleries, those sorts of things. And we have strong ties with festivals, film festivals, particularly in Sydney, in terms of industry experience for that. But then we do have a producing subject. So if you are interested in producing or a particular craft area, it's kind of, again, it's pretty much open to you. But if I don't have much experience in filmmaking, I want to pursue a career, that as a career, do I have to do this course or the undergrad instead? Depends on if you already have an undergrad, then I would say you probably, and you're coming in as a mature age student, I would say the MPI is probably a better bet for you in terms of the experience, because we do upskill you on the assumption that you may not necessarily have no prior knowledge. I just might ask the person that's asked that question, what is your undergrad? Is it do you have industry experience, or have you done an undergrad in another area? Yeah, industry experience isn't really an issue, because we have a subject called StoryCorps, which is very much a boot camp based situation where we have a bunch of workshops that support you as someone that's coming in cold into the MA. The only thing I would say about those workshops is that they're usually during the week, so they're usually you may have to, even though our actual subject content is flexible in terms of the hours that we run it, those workshops are run by the Media Lab support staff, and they're usually 9 till 7 in terms of those workshops. So that would be the thing. If you are coming with absolutely no industry experience, and we might need to skill you up with some of the practical things like softwares and cameras and that sort of stuff, then the workshops, they're a weekday thing. If you don't have a related degree, well, accounting's not a related degree, so Tasman. So I have an accounting degree, specifically if I don't have a related degree, such as no. So that was just an example of someone who's come into the postgrad without an undergrad in media or communications. So that would be a CV, personal statement. Oh, okay. Do you have an undergraduate degree? I guess is the question. So if you want to come back and to me with that answer, Tasneen. Anonymous attendee. Yes, so there's connections with people like the Sydney Film School, Sydney Film Festival, sorry. Various other sort of production companies. In terms of industry experience, I'm not sure, that's kind of up to you, but we do offer experience on production within the university, and generally we do have subjects around the business of screens that do work with real clients. So in terms of things like ethical production, and they are usually, that's usually within that one subject. So that and curation would be the two subjects where you would get industry experience and deal with real industry professionals. Do you get introduced to industry or pointed in the right direction on how to get yourself in front of people in the industry or get noticed and get out there? Again, that's through those two subjects in terms of getting experience. It's not really something that we do organically or structurally within a subject, but we do support the industry, the faculty and our School of Communications and the area of media arts does a lot of industry engagement, and so there are opportunities for that. To give you an example, a feature film I produced is having a gala screening at the Randwick Wicks in a couple of weeks, and so that's an opportunity for students to get some industry in front of the industry, because a number of students worked on that production of mine. Tasneen, commerce degree is absolutely fine to come into the MPI. And some of those, certainly the business of screen would be useful for you. And having a commerce degree, I think it's potentially that sets you up very well, say, a role as a producer down the track. Creativity and media production. What's the subject number for creativity and media production? Advanced post-production is editing, compositing, title design, color grading, deliverables of files. So it looks at the art of post-production across, and it takes you from the very beginning, potentially as an editorial assistant through to deliverables. We also look at new technologies in terms of post-production, including post-production whilst in production. And so we touch on things like virtual production. Well, just give me, can you give me the course number for creativity and media production? Oh, okay, that's originally it was called Moving Image, and that's the so while that has an introduction to editing, that's very much if you were coming from no media production experience, that would be the course that you would be doing. So it's like an introduction to media production, basically. So advanced post-production takes the basic knowledge that you got in editing with creativity and media production, and so that would be in the case where it would assume some prior knowledge. I'm happy to, if no one has any other questions, I'm happy to be emailed by this. Nate, do you want to throw in my email somehow?
No worries. I'll pop it in the chat, and I'll also include a link to our webpage where you can also just reach out to Fast Marketing. But I'll pop Greg's email in.
Probably best if there's specific questions that you ask me.
Yep.
And just a reminder that that deadline of the end of January, it's better to get stuff it's better to get in early if you are interested.